The most expensive elephant skin bag Hermès ever made didn't begin in a Paris atelier. It began with a gunshot on an African safari, a dead elephant on the ground, and a wealthy client who looked at that hide and thought, this would make a great handbag. For decades, that story was whispered in collector circles like an urban legend. An ultra-VIP hunter brings an elephant hide to Hermès in the 1980s. The brand agrees. A few custom bags are born. Then they vanish into private vaults and auction houses, resurfacing only as grainy photos and jaw-dropping price tags. If you enjoy having these hidden corners of luxury dragged into the light, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Today, Hermès publicly insists, no more elephant leather. Officially discontinued, ethically unacceptable, bad for conservation. And yet, the idea refuses to die, because behind that one scandalous chapter lies a darker, more uncomfortable question. What would it actually look like if elephant skin was processed step by step into a flawless, status symbol accessory? So imagine this: a high-security industrial facility, somewhere far from the boutiques and runway shows. Outside, it looks like any modern tannery complex. Inside, every corridor smells faintly of chemicals and wet hide. Trucks arrive at dawn, backing up to a loading bay. The doors roll open and workers in rubber aprons wrestle with something that looks less like leather and more like a collapsed gray wall. An elephant hide is enormous. Laid flat, it can cover the floor of a small room. The surface is thick, pebbled, scarred by a lifetime of dust, sun, and battles for dominance. Even in a regulated trade scenario, each piece arrives tagged, weighed, logged, serial numbers, origin codes, paperwork that insists this animal died legally. On the manifest, it's just raw material. On the floor, it's the skin of one of the most intelligent mammals on Earth. The first step is classification. A team moves around the hide with chalk and tablets, mapping out usable sections. The thickest, most even grain from the flanks and shoulders is marked for premium panels. Areas with bullet damage, deep scars, or insect bites are outlined and crossed out. They're not thrown away. They're downgraded. Maybe they'll become small leather goods, linings, or be discarded entirely. Every square centimeter is translated into potential profit. But raw elephant skin is stiff, heavy, and unforgiving. To turn it into something that can be folded, stitched, and carried on a wrist, it has to be brought back to life. Paradoxically, by drowning it. The hide is cut into large, manageable sections and fed into massive rotating drums. Water, salt, surfactants, and rehydrating agents churn for hours. The goal: reverse the drying and decay that began the moment the animal died, without letting bacteria take over. When the drum doors opens, the pieces that slide out are transformed. They're no longer rigid shields, they're swollen, pliable slabs. Workers drag them onto steel tables where excess flesh and fat are mechanically shaved away. This fleshing stage exposes the true structure of the skin. On elephant, the fibers are dense and chaotic, built by evolution to resist thorns, teeth, and tusks. That same strength in the luxury world is marketed as exceptional durability. Now comes the stretching. Each section is clamped onto a frame, pulled taut in every direction. Hydraulic arms apply measured tension, ironing out natural wrinkles while preserving the iconic, cratered grain. Too much force, and the pattern distorts. Too little, and the final bag will warp and pucker. Technicians adjust pressure based on thickness readings, moisture levels, and the future product. A structured tote demands different tension than a soft clutch. At this point, the skin is still biologically active. Left alone, it would rot. So it's lowered into the heart of the operation. The tanning drums. For elephant, the recipe is specialized. Standard bovine formulas won't penetrate properly. The hides are loaded with chromium salts or, in some high-end cases, plant-based tannins combined with synthetic agents designed to reach deep into that dense fiber network. The drums turn slowly for hours or even days. The sound like distant thunder behind concrete walls. Inside each drum, a chemical negotiation is underway. Tanning agents bond with collagen, locking the structure in place, making it resistant to moisture, heat, and time. Temperature, pH, and rotation speed are monitored constantly. A miscalculation means uneven tanning, pale, raw patches that could crack years later in a client's hands. For a brand trading on heirloom quality, that is unacceptable. So sensors feed data to a control room where operators tweak the process in real time. When the hides emerge, they're no longer skin in the biological sense. They're leather, stable, resilient, strangely cold to the touch, but they're still thick, far too thick for a handbag panel. So they pass through a splitting machine where a band blade as long as a car slices each piece horizontally, creating a precise thickness. The top layer with the natural elephant grain is the treasure. The lower layers may become suede or be discarded. Every millimeter shaved off is a calculated trade-off between strength, weight, and flexibility. Next comes pressing. The tanned, split hides are stacked and fed into large plate presses. Under tons of pressure, the surface is subtly flattened, the pores compacted, the overall feel refined. For some luxury clients, the goal is to keep the wild, cratered appearance as a visual signature. For others, the brief is tamed nature, still recognizably elephant but smoothed, disciplined, ready for a boutique shelf. Pressure, heat, and time are adjusted to hit that aesthetic sweet spot. Color is the next illusion. In the 1980s, that infamous Hermès client might have requested classic browns or deep charcoals, tones that whisper safari trophy. Today, if such a process existed at scale, fashion houses would demand everything from jet black to jewel-tone blues. The hides are reloaded into drums, this time with dyes and fat liquors, oils that restore suppleness. The goal is a rich, even color that penetrates all the way through, so that a scratch doesn't reveal a pale, ugly underlayer. Once dyed and dried, the leather enters finishing. Spray booths coat the surface with protective layers, pigments, resins, sometimes waxes. These finishes enhance color, add sheen or matte effects, and create resistance to stains and water. On elephant leather, the challenge is to protect without erasing. Too thick a finish, and the natural cratered pattern looks plastic. Too thin, and a single raindrop could leave a permanent mark on a bag that costs more than a car. Only now does the material resemble something you might see in a Hermès window if Hermès still used it. Large sheets are inspected under bright, unforgiving light. Quality controllers circle tiny imperfections with marker, a healed scar, a subtle discoloration, a barely visible stretch mark. Those areas are cut away or assigned to hidden components like gussets and internal pockets. The best flawless sections are reserved for visible panels, front, back, flap. Pattern makers overlay metal templates onto the leather, playing a high-stakes game of Tetris. The aim is to maximize yield while ensuring that the most beautiful, even grain sits front and center on the bag. A misplacement of a template by a few centimeters can waste hundreds of dollars worth of leather. Computer-guided cutters trace the outlines with surgical precision, or skilled artisans do it by hand with razor-sharp knives, following chalk lines that cannot be undone. The cut pieces move to the assembly floor, a world away from the drums and presses. Here, the atmosphere feels almost sacred. Individual workbenches, bright lamps, quiet concentration. An artisan picks up a panel of elephant leather and flexes it gently, learning its resistance. Holes are pre-punched with pricking irons or machines to ensure perfectly spaced stitches. Edges are skived thinner so they can fold cleanly without bulk. Stitching is where the industrial process gives way to craft mythology. For a house like Hermès, the saddle stitch is a signature. 2 needles, 1 thread, crossing in every hole, creating a seam that is both beautiful and nearly impossible to unravel. On elephant leather, every needle pass fights the dense grain. Each seam takes longer. Each mistake is more visible. Handles are reinforced with additional layers. Linings are inserted. Hardware is anchored with hidden backing pieces so the weight of metal doesn't tear the leather over time. Slowly, the pile of flat components becomes three-dimensional. Side panels are joined to the body. Corners are pinched, glued, then stitched. The characteristic shape takes form, whether it's a structured tote, a top-handle bag, or a compact clutch. The bag is turned right side out. Edges are sanded smooth, then coated with edge paint in multiple layers, each one dried and polished. The result is a clean, sealed line that hides the raw cross-section of that once massive hide. The final touches are almost ritualistic. A soft cloth buffs the surface. A gloved hand checks the opening and closing of the flap, the smoothness of the zipper, the balance of the handles. The logo is stamped, gold foil, blind emboss, or subtle deboss. In that tiny emblem, the entire story is compressed. A wild animal, a gunshot, an industrial transformation, a craftsman's patience, and a buyer's desire to own something rare enough to be controversial. This is the dark truth behind those historical anomalies in Hermès history. The brand experimented with elephant leather decades ago, made a very limited number of bespoke bags for high-profile clients, and then walked away. Officially, it's over. Unofficially, those pieces still circulate in auctions and private collections, each one a reminder of how far luxury will go when rarity is the ultimate selling point. If this is what it takes to turn elephant skin into a status symbol, what does it look like when the animal is smaller, the scales are thinner, and the demand is even bigger? The next step is to walk into a snake leather factory and watch a reptile's skin become a glossy jacket on a boutique rack. See you there.